Let's give him a big hand.
Big hand applause, people.
By the way, if you have not seen this piece, it's in the lobby. It's
You look
amazing.
great, Chris. Chris, that looks just like you up there. Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Kennedy Knowles, and I'm co-executive director of the City Kids Foundation, which is one of 3 organizations that we're going to talk about today, who are here today to explore how we took Keith Haring's largest collaborative masterpiece. It's hanging right now at the Marriott Marquis. It's 90 feet by 30 feet. And we have taken that masterpiece and turned it into NFTs that will fund a DAO. And so these are the 3 organizations that came together to make this happen. And I'd love for you all just to introduce yourselves and tell us what organization you're from. Keon, you get to go first because you're to my left.
Okay. Good morning. I am Keon Wright Shepherd. I am co-director of the City Kids Foundation, and I am also one of the actual artists that painted the work with Keith Haring in 1986.
I am not BC Bierman. He is one of my co-founders. He couldn't make it here today. My name is Chris Nunes. My studio is called Amuse. We have an interactive AR and music platform. I presented yesterday over at the Marriott, but we were the digital studio engaged by Lori and City Kids to scan the mural and turn it into NFTs and then construct the DAO, or help construct the DAO around it.
Hi, I'm Lori Meadoff. I cold called Keith Haring in 1912. What year was it? Yeah, 1985. I'm the founder and president of City Kids, and can't wait to share the story of building this with you.
I'm Punacha Machaya. I'm the CEO of the Chopra Foundation. I'm also the co-founder of Savor Love, which is the NFT platform for doing good. And my co-founder is Dr. Deepak Chopra and dear friends of Lori for decades.
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So this all started back in 1986. So here we are in 2022. But back in 1986, as Lori said, she cold called Keith Haring. So can you tell us how that cold call turned into this masterpiece?
Yes. So City Kids, I began City Kids to create a safe space for diverse kids to get together in a safe space, share their stories, and turn their pain into purpose, and then train as leaders of social change. And we've been doing that for over 37 years. It's an extraordinary amount of young, and now it's led by 2 of our alumni. That's the best part of this whole thing. Of course, I had a youth board of directors. I never had adults in the room. So I asked the young people at the 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty, what should we do? And you know, school systems were asking for essays and boring stuff. And they said, you know that guy who's tagging in the subways everywhere? You know, his name's Keith Haring. Let's go after him. Cold called him. Keith gets on the phone and says, yeah, I'll do this, sure. But at that point, City Kids was thinking of, well, we'll do squares like the AIDS quilts, and we even found women in Brooklyn who would sew it together. Keith said, nah, let's do the opposite. Let's get 1,000 kids to us. So the first thing was, where's the place for a 90-foot by 30? So this is 10 stories high that can actually execute something like that. Well, the Jacob Javits Center hadn't been built, but was kind of opening soon. We have a habit of talking our way into things. We talked our way into that, and they gave us the floor. The New York public school system organized at least 350 kids coming each day. It was so stunning, and of course we had no money, so I was visiting my mother in Florida. I looked in the yellow pages of who might fund us and talked my way into Burger King. Met the head of Burger King right then and there, and he said, how much do you need? I said, 90,000. He said, here's 60, and then he brought Pepsi in. But we had a game, and we got donations of tons of paints, And there we go. Now, the first thing City Kids style is we do not just say, here's paint, go do it. You have to think about liberty. You have to think about what's democracy. What do you want to say? How do you engage people from where they are and diverse young people on their experience and shared stories? So you walked into this place, you went in one direction and you did a workshop with music, you did another in arts. Then we even had a place Keith wanted for people to just draw their thoughts before they could even go over to the banner. It was so incredible. Best party I've ever thrown. Imagine people moving by like following a Keith Haring, you know, the little people or the dogs that are barking, and they would go from place to place every 45 minutes. And the group called the Guardian Angels, who just started, were the ones who watched it at night while it dried, so it wasn't vandalized. So at the end of the day, Herbie Hancock came to play. So did Philip Glass. So did Peter Yarrow, and so were the sons and daughters of Liberty leaders. So Attila Shabazz, Malcolm X's young daughter at the time, Robert Kennedy Jr. came and spoke. So it was a really event that was so stunning. And now we're even launching on Find Your Name, Add Your Name. So we find the young people that actually drew like Keon on this banner. The banner then went to Battery Park City, was hung there. There was a little group called the New Kids on the Block. They were this big. I have blackmail pictures of them. And also Yoko Ono, Kenny Scharf, and Keith's friends. And that's how this whole thing began. So we're sitting with the largest social justice calling card in the history. We need your help. We need to activate it. We need to reboot liberty in every city across America and the world. And we'd love you to join us.
Yeah, so Lori is a magic maker. Will cold call anyone, and is an incredible collaborator. So here we have this giant banner, and it's this incredible, as she said, social justice calling card, and yet it is very difficult to show it. And enter Chris and Amuse. So can you talk about how you all came to take this banner and bring it into the metaverse? Is that how you say it, right? The metaverse.
Yeah, you have to lower your voice like that.
The metaverse.
So I run an augmented reality studio. We've been doing augmented reality art all over the world for over a decade. And I think you contacted us probably at this point like 3 years ago, thinking about how could we create an augmented reality experience around the world where anybody could experience this banner at full size or potentially walk through it into a new digital landscape. So we've been ideating around interactive experiences with the Statue of Liberty, with Keith's art, with the kids' words for a long time. And at that point, I suggested to Lori and the board, you guys really need to think about digital, because this banner is beautiful, it's great, and you can see it in the Marriott atrium now if you go up to the 8th or 9th floor. So you can see it in person. But you're limited by the physical footprints or footsteps of getting people in front of this physical banner. And typically when it's hung on the side of a building, it's, I don't know, 10 stories up, 15 stories up. You can't actually see it up close. So as soon as you start thinking about the digital imagery of it, you can bring people like right up into the words and read the words almost, I think for the first time, really, right? Because there was no imagery of this piece at high definition before we stepped in. So we just started thinking in terms of digital art. How do we digitize the banner? How do we create an interactive experience around it? And this was before really Metaverse was on our radar. But we've been in the NFT space for at least 4 years. And we started thinking about how could we do NFTs with this? How can we get the Haring Foundation involved? How can we circle up the community around this piece of art? So we rented out a warehouse in Brooklyn. I think it was Greenpoint, right? Strung this banner out on a big stretcher system, a big rail system, flew drones over it, pulled it under 2 DSLRs, like a big giant physical scanner, and created a 6 gigabyte file of this piece. So it's a massive digital work, and now we're carving that into, not carving the physical, but carving the digital file into 396 unique one-of-one parcels. So it's not a fractional system. It's not you get a share in the banner. You actually get a 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot square if you purchase one of the NFTs. So I'll stop there.
Well, that was I didn't know there was a scanner big enough. So I'm glad to know.
Yeah, we turned a Brooklyn warehouse into a scanner.
A giant scanner. So we have these NFTs. We've digitized the banner, and we're always, our mission is social justice. Our mission is to use art and turn youth pain into purpose. And so we then brought in, or enter, the Chopra Foundation and Poonacha and Deepak and Save a Love. So can you then talk about how we took this NFT and then focused it on social justice and DAOs for Good?
Yeah, I think when Deepak and Laurie were speaking, we're kind of looking at the Chopra Foundation is very focused on mental health. And if you look at this in this 20-minute panel, more than 20 people would have died. And that is the tragedy of our society, every 40 seconds. But in the United States, the second leading cause of death among young adults was death by suicide. And since the pandemic, over the last 3 years, anxiety has gone up by over 30%. And we were looking at the Chopra Foundation, we said, we really want to do something around mental health and schools and art and activism of the art is probably the best thing we can do on the ground. And it's on-the-ground program, and we wanted to find an on-the-ground partner. And Laurie and Deepak have collaborated over the years, and Laurie said, you know what, let's kind of combine, join forces. We have a program called Never Alone, which is the program. We said, let's kind of partner with City Kids. And along the same journey, the other hat I wear is Save Our Love. And Save Our Love is the Metaverse for Good platform. And our goal was to, this amazing transformation in Web3. And what's nice about this whole project, this is 1986, was probably the original Web3, right? You have 1,000 people with a shared vision, we had a distributed objective, and there was somebody who was kind of setting up the original DAO. This is actually the original one. Maybe we should have taken some rights on that.
Yeah.
But we said, you know what, and talking to Chris and the team, we said, let's kind of take the ethos that everybody needs to share in this collective vision. We cannot do this alone, right? So everybody over here is part of this force. So we then said, as from a Save Our Love perspective, we said, let's kind of create NFTs, and then let's kind of create a DAO, and let's kind of make this a movement to kind of take across the US, and working with Chris and team, it's now digitized, we can take it across the world. So our goal was to really look at mental health and our collaboration with City Kids to kind of create a global footprint.
Yeah, so we now have these, this NFT, this DAO, this Good Art DAO, which really is taking the work of City Kids and Chopra Foundation and amplifying it. And since we're talking about the original, and Keon really is this connector, because he was there and painted on the original banner, and now he is my partner in leading City Kids into this next generation. And so I'd love for Keon, for you to just talk a little bit about the personal journey from being there in 1986 and then being here at NFT.NYC. I know that's a big ask.
No, actually, it got really simplified when we did the press conference. So 1986, my mom works at the Javits Center. I'm hanging out with her at work. She's like, you are getting on my nerves. There's a bunch of kids doing something downstairs. Please go down there with them, figure out what they're doing, and get out of my hair. So I go downstairs to figure out what the kids downstairs are doing. And when I walk in, some guy hands me $50 in a Burger King order and is like, listen, get all of this stuff right here and whatever you want for yourself. And I'm like, okay, I don't know this man from Adam, and he just handed me $50 in 1986. I could just get on the subway and go head home, right? But something about the fact that he trusted me was like, yo, this is dope. So I came back, and they were in the process of planning this banner thing, and I got a chance to be part of that production team, and then I got a chance to work with Keith over a 2-year period, which was a really fantastic experience. I tell people all the time, people forget that he is a graffiti artist first, right? I always shout that because he was doing graffiti in the subway, and that was what we thought as young people was dope, right? And so we are in the Javits Center, and he's in the process of doing the outline. So if you look at this painting, right, the arm starts going in one direction and then comes back in the other direction and stands up, right? So he starts painting, and we're in there, and we look at an actual picture of the Statue of Liberty. And I'm like, bro, you're going the wrong way. And he's like, what? And I'm like, bro, you're going the wrong way. And so now he looks at the picture, he's like, it's okay, we'll just go back this way, because it's a 10-story banner. It's not like we could start over and you could just begin again, right? And then it was like, then it needed an explanation. And Keith's explanation was, liberty is wobbly, right? And that's dope. So Monday, I had the opportunity to bring my son to the Marriott in order to see the banner hanging in the atrium, right? Because in 1986, I don't know why I knew this was going to be important, but I did. So what I wrote was, without her, there is no me, there is no you, there is no liberty. And then I signed it, Keon, right?
Real big.
So now I also named my son Keon, right? And so on Monday, I was able to take him into the atrium at the Marriott and show him his name on the banner, right? And there was nothing that connected that moment to this moment more for me. It was him being able to see, right, the mark that got left all of that time. And that's what it was about. It's about allowing young people to leave their mark. It's about allowing young people to have a voice and allowing them to make a statement and have that statement be seen and amplified. And that is, was, and will forever be the mission of the City Kids Foundation.
You said it perfectly, brother. So now we get to do that, we get to amplify that globally through the metaverse because of this collaboration and the passion of the people sitting here and countless other people. Are there any questions about it? We sort of have given you the platform of what it is we're doing, but are there any questions about the NFTs, the DAO, City Kids, what we had for lunch? Yes.
So we're a nonprofit, pretty scrappy, no formal funding, you know what I mean, just doing the work. How do nonprofits who are really have their hands full doing the work connect with people in the metaverse who can partner to elevate the project? You know what I mean, like create the NFT, because I think it's the last panel said it and it was so helpful to hear. It's like it's unrealistic to think that these nonprofits who are really on the ground doing the work can do everything in Web3. There's got to be some collaboration, but a lot of times those doing authentic work don't have the access. You know what I mean? So what advice would you give?
Yeah, I
wanna take
think
that?
so. We started Save a Love primarily because I was as a CEO of the Chopra Foundation. I'm constantly fundraising, and I really don't like to ask for money. I'm like, I want to turn this model around, and I love the Web3 approach. So what we did was that we started creating NFTs, working with artists. Technologists built a lot of stuff, but artists come from the heart. They heal. So when I did the first NFT drop, Emilia Clarke wanted to raise money for brain injury recovery for her organization same year. So we partnered with an artist. Second time we did this, there was 3 bears in Mongolia which needed to be rescued by Animals Australia, and they needed to raise funds. So we worked with an NFT artist, Wisby, who Chris knows, and we got them to collaborate. So I think right now, working with an artist, and that's what we do, so we can talk offline. We take an organization, we take a cause, example, causes which are very hard to get funded, like female genital mutilation. Every 11 seconds, an African girl child gets cut. An African girl child, every 11 seconds. How do we take that cause and how do we empower the activist? That is Web3. Web3 is all about art, and there's artists, and they come from the heart. I built technology in '91, I came from the brain. That means I built faster networks, made video, created addiction. So I think now it's time to change. A more conscious internet, which is Web3.
Yeah. So, and as a grassroots, because Keon and I, right, we were alumni. We came back during the pandemic, and we stepped up with a lot of other people, and we're essentially volunteer, right? Like, we look super fancy, but we are volunteering because we are passionate, just like you, about the work on the ground. And so it is true. How do you bridge, right? How do you continue to do that work on the ground while learning, while adjusting, and sort of being able to bring that to the Webiverse? And Webiverse, see? I don't even know, y'all. Like 7 months ago when they told us we're going to go do DAOs, we were like, what's a DAO? I thought literally it was like, I'm going to meditate, right? And so Keon and I have learned, because we have these incredible mentors who are very well versed in Web3 who have helped us. But it has been a huge learning curve for us, and it really is constantly anchoring it back to the work that we do, grassroots on the ground, right? So that building that bridge between the metaverse and the work on the ground. And it is a real learning curve, and it's just finding those partners that will help you, right? Will tell us how to get on Discord.
That is the point of this DAO, right? This DAO is called Good Art DAO. So if you go to goodartdao.org, the whole point of this DAO is to community organize other organizations like yourselves. It's not just about City Kids. City Kids is the progenitor of this effort. And we're trying to use the funds raised from this NFT sale to fund the treasury of the DAO, right? And now the DAO becomes a public access organization for other communities to come in, step in, and say, I want to see this programming live in the world. And the community will vote on which programs get to live and access the treasury. City Kids will be using their decades of experience in programming and logistics and management of the funds to help steer a lot of that. But ultimately, this DAO is about organizing the global community, using art as the template. There will be future artist collaborations to keep the treasury filled over time, but this is just the first one. So one of the points of the DAO is to teach the next generation blockchain literacy, how to use NFTs for social activism and good, right? So how to access this technology, both in a responsible and safe way, but also now using it for the purposes that they think are important in their community. So every community organization that might be in the audience, please go to goodartdao.org, sign up, and that's the whole point of why we're here on stage.
You had to see Keon at Cardoza. We did a project, high school, going to thousands of kids. Who wants to have their voices heard? And they were, me. And then he goes, and who wants to make some money? And they were like, me. I was like, come see our workshop later.
So we just did a muraling project at Benjamin Cardozo High School in Queens, right? We did 15 murals with a bunch of different artists. So now their school is a museum, but we let the young people paint their own panels in terms of what does liberty and democracy mean to you, right? And one that stuck out to me, one of my young people wrote, money over everything but not everyone. Because I think that it is important that we be focused on working together and collaboratively so that we don't forget the point of why it is that we're earning the money. I was like, that's dope. So now he paints that on a panel, and then we mint that particular panel, and now he has an NFT that he has the capacity to utilize for his own good based upon what it was that he was thinking and feeling. That is how it is that the Good Art DAO works and will continue to work. So we are also going to collaborate with other artists to do like another work like Keats, to do maybe a great outline where it is that we can bring the young people together and then have them to raise their voice and create a new artwork. And like Chris said, you should go to goodartdao.org, especially y'all, because I love y'all.
Yes.
Right? Now listen, was at a conference with y'all before, the brother that unfortunately lost his life because he answered the door. I got one of those shirts. Mine is in black and gold. So y'all make sure y'all holler at me before y'all get out of here.
Yeah. And we really are, we're passionate about access to this DAO because we realize that buying an NFT, there are people who need their voices heard in this DAO who cannot get an NFT yet, who still have to figure out how to get a wallet. And so we minted a Torch NFT, and the people who have access to those, the Torch NFTs give you access to the DAO without having to buy an NFT. And we are gifting some of those here at the conference. So that lovely QR code will send you where you can be to register to be a part of the movement, and then also to be gifted the chance, being gifted an NFT, Genesis Torch NFT. So we have 33 seconds left, and I just want to say thank you all for coming and joining us here. City Kids Speak, NFT DAOs, and the Keith Haring's largest collaborative masterpiece. Thank all of you for your time and your passion on this project, and check us out Ninth floor, the Marriott Marquis. There is nothing like seeing this masterpiece in person. It is overwhelming. Thank you all for continuing the missions. Bye.
All right.